Project Hail Mary. Is it any good? Yes. If you didn't know, Project Hail Mary is a new Ryan Gosling film, starring and produced by him, directed by Lord and Miller, and based on the book of the same name by Andy Weir. It's the same guy who wrote The Martian. Elevator pitch: the sun is dying from a sort of solar virus that's infected the entire galaxy except for one star. No scientists on Earth can figure out a cure, so the last hope for humanity is to send out a team of astronaut scientists on an incredibly risky interstellar mission to find out anything they can about this star, where the journey alone could kill them. And it actually does kill some of them, leaving all hope for humanity in the hands of Ryland Grace, who's actually not even an astronaut but an elementary school teacher. The project is an incredible long shot, hence the name Project Hail Mary.
I put the not in astronaut. I've never done anything. I've never done a spacewalk. I can't even moonwalk.
It's obviously very similar to The Martian, with shades of Interstellar, shades of Arrival, and shades of E.T. And that's where this movie really separates itself from those first space movies that I listed. It's very grounded in many aspects, similar to those movies in a way that science is a quote-unquote main character of the story, from it being science fiction with as much realism as possible. But then, halfway through the movie, first contact with intelligent alien life is made, and it just so happens that the alien is quirky and silly. Now, I could see how the introduction of a character like this could be complete tonal whiplash for some people. You know, the stakes of the movie is planetary extinction. Like, the whole world is literally at stake, and these dudes are up here joking and hitting dance moves. But at the same time it works. Ryland Grace is also a very quirky and silly millennial, which is why the character pairing works well. I personally liked it because I have joy and whimsy in my heart, but at the same time I can see how that doesn't work for certain people in a movie like this. I think it's actually a strength of the movie that it does a lot of different things pretty well. It's an epic, grand sci-fi space movie, and at the same time it's a buddy cop bromance comedy. The science is really cool, even though it's probably most certainly dumbed down since it's a Hollywood movie. I couldn't tell because I'm not a scientist, I'm barely a college graduate, but I actually think around there is the Goldilocks zone of enjoying a movie like this. If you have introductory level knowledge of physics, biology, or the scientific method, you can be like, yo, I recognize that concept from a lab I did several years ago. It's very rewarding and it makes you feel really smart. The emotional moments hit very hard too. I've seen it twice now, and both times the same scenes made me teary-eyed. I don't want to spoil them, but I'll give hints as to which ones they are. The first one is when he's in space doing something, and they flip a switch, and suddenly the whole screen turns red, and the music swells, and it's so beautiful. All credits to Daniel Pemberton, the composer, he also did Spider-Verse, and Greg Fraser, the cinematographer, who he also did Dune and The Batman, so, you know, peak recognize peak. The second is when Ryland Grace gets some unexpected news from Rocky the alien, and he's in the shadows for a second, and then he steps forward into the light, and you just see the full emotion on his face, and you feel it with him too, man. You know, so Ryan Gosling's performance was also incredibly good. So yeah, man, go watch the movie and also go read the book. Something else I want to say, you definitely don't have to read the book in order to enjoy the movie. But if you become a Project Hail Mary fan after watching the movie, I actually think reading the book after watching it might be a better experience, just because if you like the concept and the characters of the movie, the book is obviously the same thing, but it just has more of it. The only thing that might make reading the book better first is not knowing the ending. It's not like I'm a crazy book reader, but I finished that book fast in like not even 2 weeks, and it's just because I couldn't put it down. And a big reason of why I couldn't is because I just wanted to know how it all ended. You also don't see the ending coming, at least I didn't. And yeah, you still get that suspenseful experience with the movie, but that can't put it down element is kind of lost because you gon' finish the movie in a few hours regardless. But yeah, that's about it for my non-spoiler review. I'll personally give it about 8.6 out of 10. Almost a 9. The main thing holding it back for me is the fact that I know it's an adaptation and I can't let go of the things that I know they left out or changed. Spoiler warning now, I'm about to talk freely about the full movie and compare it to the book, so if you haven't watched it yet, now's the time to stop watching this and go watch the movie. If I wasn't annoying before, I'm about to be, because in the book... First of all, I want to start with the biggest plot holes or suspension of disbelief breakers. First of all, someone as smart, funny, and handsome as Ryan Gosling playing Ryland Grace, in no world would be single with no friends or family or anything like that, but hey, his character is afraid of taking risks, so I guess that's why. Seriously though, my biggest complaint with the movie is how fast-forwarded, glossed over, and unearned certain things feel. The biggest example of this is the language barrier between Grace and Rocky, because it seems as if Rocky already understands English from their first or second meeting. I know Rocky has an incredible short-term memory and processing power or something like that, which that's how he's easily able to convert to Earth units when he's talking to Grace about math. And I can accept that part, but the way they handle first contact with intelligent alien life is just dumbed down so much for the sake of being played for laughs. This is where Project Hail Mary pales in comparison to Arrival, in my opinion. And I've only seen about like 10 to 20 minutes of that movie, but I can definitely say in those few minutes, Arrival has way more linguistic intrigue and magic than the entirety of the Project Hail Mary movie. It's been over a year since I read the book, so I can't remember exactly how it was handled, but the linguistics in the movie was just noticeably bad by someone who doesn't know anything about linguistics. Another thing that was kind of glossed over for laughs is Grace and Rocky studying each other for the sake of biological research. The main example of this is being how Iridians eat. In the book, Rocky is actually very private and closed off when it comes to eating. He's very awkward, and when Grace asks to like study him while he's eating, he's very reluctant to do it. And it takes a lot of convincing from Grace, who's really curious about that aspect of their biology. So then when he finally lets him watch him eat, it makes them feel way closer, and you see that trust between them, start to grow. But then in the movie, he literally says something like, "I look beautiful when I eat, and we eat like this." Then he puts the food in the same hole that waste comes out of, insert laugh track. Aside from the things that were played for laughs, one of the things that couldn't really get captured in the movie was the trial and error problem solving process that Grace has to go through, literally every step of the story. For example, the first several chapters of the book is just straight up competency porn, as some people put it. Just Grace by himself using the scientific method to figure shit out, like the gravity in a spaceship due to acceleration or so many other things, in order to understand his situation. Being along for that ride of trial and error is lost in the movie adaptation. Like, another example is when Rocky almost dies, and in the book, Grace has to get him back into his life support bubble, but he's hot, and he's heavy, so he has to make a special harness to carry him. And then he needs to clean that black sludge that's coming out of him, and give him other healthcare, but to do that, he has to speculate more about Iridian biology. But then in the movie, it just cuts to Rocky in his bubble, and Grace is doing his video diaries, and he just says, "I've tried everything I could think of," and that's all we get from that. And I get it, it's a movie, and the nature of the medium means they'll never be able to include every detail that was in the book, especially because the film is already 2.5 hours long, which is, that's already the same length as Interstellar. They're both really long movies already. And the point of adaptation is not to make a one-to-one remake, so that's okay, All that being said, it's still an incredible movie. These are all nitpicks more than anything. But the solution to these nitpicks will be to release the original 4-hour-long director's cut. #release PHM director's cut. But yeah, I'd probably be able to go on and on about this story, but I've said the main things that have been on my mind. This is a very good hope core, power of friendship movie that makes you feel smart. And it's one of them ones, man. Interstellar came out 14 years ago, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is the best sci-fi movie of the last 14 years. And just to include some Twitter discourse in the video, one last thing I want to talk about is Andy Weir's recent comments about not liking social commentary in politics and media. I'm gonna just go ahead and read the full quote. "I dislike social commentary. Like, I really hate it. When I'm reading a book, I just want to be entertained, not preached at by the author. Plus, it ruins the wonder of the story if I know the author has a political or social axe to grind. I no longer speculate about all the possible outcomes of the story because I know for a fact that the universe of that book will conspire to ensure the author's political agenda is validated. I hate that." And I just think that's a really weird stance to take when you made a story about the whole world cooperating to save the planet from a climate disaster by trusting in science. And the emotional core is about working together with and self-sacrificing for someone different from you that comes from a different place. Not to mention the unquestioned acceptance of climate change in the story. The "I just want to be entertained" part is dumb too, because every good author, including yourself, entertains and includes social commentary at the same time. And I get this probably just means he finds all those things that I said neutral, but that doesn't mean that everybody does, and that's the political part. But yeah, I guess what he was trying to do is just make sure that every side of the aisle gives his book a chance because what? Hey Tony, give me a sci-fi story with no social or political commentary. Nothing. But yeah, that's my review of Project Hail Mary. Go watch the movie, go read the book. Thank you for watching. Holla at your boy. Yo.